Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name's DB333, and welcome to a little tier list for the Russian Unifier tier list 2.0. Now, I uploaded the original one, I think, right at the start of the year. It's already become my most popular video on my channel, which is pretty impressive. I've gotten some feedback on that list since, some that was very much appreciated, and others that just called me a libtard or some shit and told me to kill myself, which, that was a little less appreciated. But, you know, it's YouTube, it's the internet, what the fuck do you expect? But I was looking back at that video and some of the decisions. I wasn't really fully happy with it. I played some of the warlords since, or I've learned some new information about them that kind of puts them into context a bit more. And so I figured it was about time to redo it. Plus, we had a new update that adds a bunch of content to them. So, how this is structured, we have the usual structure of tier list. S, A, B, C, D, and F. But we have a little something new. Some of you might know that some of the Russian warlords might just not have content. They don't have anything to them. You can't play them. There's nothing to them. We also have a new update with the what happens with the Sergei Tabaritsky path, which after that horrible little nightmare ends, Russia splits up into another era of warlordism. And that's pretty unfortunate. And so I found it hard to figure out how to rank both the ones that don't have content and the ones that can only come across when half of the population of Russia is fucking dead. So, I've created a separate tier for them. This is what I call the OOF tier, or the O tier for short. This is for all of the warlords that, they might be great. They might honestly be great for Russia, better than any of the other options. Or they might be horrible for Russia. They might be worse than all of these F tier options combined. Or they might just be something in the middle. It doesn't even necessarily matter. Because Russia is a little fucked, so that's a big oof on them and the Russian people, no matter who comes in power. Plus a few of these guys don't have content, so what are you going to do with that? So that leads us with the rest of these guys. I'm going to have the original warlord thing at the other the side, so I'll be able to I'll add a few read mores just so I can scroll by, along with keep an eye on chat. I've made the decision there are going to be a couple less F tiers than I fully realized. I'm going to rework some of the topper ones because I'm going to start with Comey. I'll just go in order of the list, I think. I think going in order of the list is a fine enough way to do it. Help me weed out any, I only have so much time. Well, make time then, I don't know what to tell you. So we'll start off with Svetlana Salina. I'll put her in A tier. I think pretty much all the Democratic paths for Comey are pretty good overall. Have a bit of a strong arm aspect to this democracy, which may not be my favorite personally, but I think overall it works. It's explained in a way that makes it sound like it works fine. So, you know, I'll go with it. You know, Iron Woman, you know, all your Thatcher analogies there. Different way to achieve socialism through democratic means or whatever the fuck the path is going to be. It doesn't seem like a bad path at all, and Comey's in a pretty good position. Modeled after India's Indira Gandhi. That sounds a little concerning. I guess we'll get to that when we get to the Despot Path, then. Because I know some things about Indira Gandhi that are, well, I've heard some things. I saw memes on Reddit that made me a little bit more into it. Next we have Nikita. The guy who gets in if old Mikhail over in Cheetah doesn't manage to figure out his stuff. Basically a puppet for the White Army. Not very nice. TNO, yeah, TNO is three different Iron Ladies. Well, good night, gamers. Don't make me demand a 3.0. Dude, okay, who do you want? I will go over who you want right now. I'll finish up explaining this, and I will go ahead and move on. A white army dictatorship, not the best. I don't really like to throw these words around, but it's a pretty cringe path. You get a guy who's trying to break out of his bondage and assert himself. Then he gets kicked out, and you have his uncle replace him. It's a very underwhelming conclusion for Cheetah, unfortunately. And plus, I don't think it would be that good as a country to work with. Moving on. Dry, do you want to tell me who you want? I think I know who you want, but I'm going to wait for you to tell me who you want. Should someone tell? I'll move on to the next one for now, and then Dry, if you come back, we'll go over it. Gumalov, bit of an interesting one, a Eurasianist, out of the Komi far right, arguably the most progressive when it comes to racial matters. He doesn't really he believes in one race, for Eurasianist race, so he's gonna wipe out all the cultures, but he's not gonna. He discriminates sort of equally, and he's not going to kill people because of that, I guess. I don't know. So, it's kind of dictatory from my understanding. New portrait's kind of neat, I guess. So, D tier, I guess. We'll go with that. Hold on, I'm going to Dry and ask him who he wants. There we go. Okay. D is technically a pass. Yeah, D is a passing grade. The way I'll explain... Okay, S is what I think is a perfect, pretty damn good system. No asterisks, or no major asterisks, pretty much. Then you get to less preferable. C is... It's okay. Wouldn't be my first pick of a Russia to live in, but wouldn't be my last. The D is if there are some pretty big catches. So, say it's just kind of unpleasant for everyone. D tier. D is also if it's okay if you're Russian, but if you're not, it's not going to be fun. That's what I'll consider D. F is if you're kind of fucked no matter what. One way or the other. And to kind of explain that a little bit. Rudzevsky. F tier. Apparently, this was one of the controversial ones, because apparently people are, pretty chummy with fascists, I guess. I gotta say, I am, not a fan of the Nazi-style system for any country. And I don't think it works well for Russia. That's why Rudzevsky is an F tier. Now, his story is an interesting one, how they explain it. They make you actually feel compelled to follow the story of an alcoholic monster who kills people for arbitrary reasons and models his system after Hitler. The writing is interesting on the story. And I guess you can get that extra bit of Russia back from Manchukuo. Kind of nice there. Everything else, though, it's just fucking horrific. Yeah, let's avoid getting to the Pacifica thing. That was a bunch of weird shit. I don't want to get into it. So, I'll just say, yeah, not a fan of him. Alright, so Dry just told me who he wants. So we'll just get to the guy when we get to the guy. Wholesome Chungus Reddit man. Do I calibrate this based on what's going to happen in Toolbox Theory or not? I'm trying to figure that out. I'll just go with the aggregate for both, because I think I split Savlin up to S tier for the LibSoc and B tier for the OffSoc. And the reason I put Sablin in S tier, because I got some people giving me crap for it, it's because he's literally written to be an S tier perfect country. It's not my fault. I don't think it would work out that well personally. I think I even said that, but the devs wrote it that way. And B tier, I think, is a more pragmatic, realistic way would go. So I'm just going to go ahead and have people shut the fuck up and stop telling me to kill myself or whatever the fuck it was. I'll put him in A tier just to, like, aggregate the scores. We'll go with that. There is a bit of a balance between the idealism and the pragmatism, which you see fight out between the Lipsoch and the Offsoch paths, which is interesting. The Offsoch is pretty well off militarily, and you have a pretty good potential there. Lipsoch is obviously utopian, hold hands, sing kumbaya. It's written to be fucking perfect. So I just figured I'll aggregate them. I think in Toolbox Theory, it's just going to be one ideology, not Lipsoch or Offsoch. I think just communism it'll be under. So there will be a bit more of a mixing thing. I'm taking both. I'm pretending that it's just merged up, so this is representing both paths. So we'll just move this to the bottom. We'll not deal with it. Yagoda. This is one of the ones where I got a bit of pushback, because people don't like Yagoda, but they don't think he was F tier. And I've come to agree with that. Now, a security state is not nice by any means, but if you go down certain economic paths, Russia won't be too bad off. It'll still be a weird cult of personality, but you'll have an okay economy. It could be far from the worst. So we'll go with that. Besanov. I forget exactly how to pronounce his name, but sort of the opposite issue if you go to, because it's the same state, I believe. You have a bit lesser of an economic basis, I want to say. I think the economy is potentially going to be worse, but there's going to be more freedoms for the people. You're not going to have this weird cult of personality, so it's a little bit better in some regards. I'll put him up to C. I think I had him there in my last. Yeah, he was there in the last list. He'll stay there. Oh, Gibbs, you sent me a meme. That's pretty funny. I enjoy that. Alexander Men. Now, if this was an ideal world, Men's ideology is very nice, sweet. The big problem is he doesn't really have a good army going for him. So, hypothetically, if you could go into Russia and actually take back Moscovian, because that's going to be all the TNO2 content. If you were actually able to go after him and take take all that back, then it could work. But you can't really do that, so you kind of get docked down a little bit for that. So I got to put Men. I think B is a fair enough position for him. Yeah, you go to his North Korea with more free zones, which. Not the best, but also probably not the worst, realistically. Okay, we got the Rurikids. I think, I actually put her in D last time. I think I'll move her up to C. And I think I'll keep Yuri in the same tier as last time. Yuri has a weird monarcho-socialist thing, which I think is kind of funny. I enjoy it, and it seems pretty blessed in how they describe it going. I think that works out pretty well. And then, I forget her monarch name exactly. But she's a stronger hand, forces more development. Lydia, thank you, Lydia. Is that her monarch name or something? I forget if it's her name's Lydia. She's a bit of a harder force on Russia. Takes a stronger line, gives the people a bit less freedoms, but you can argue Same way that you can with the Bacillart and Tomsk, that it kind of works out well, and you kind of need to do that a little bit. So I can stomach that a bit better in that regard. So we got that going. Okay, Matkovsky. I can see actually a case for C tier. I think he'd be more of a high D tier, and I'll explain this real quick. Just because they're this is first, that doesn't mean that I think they're, Stalina's the best, and Sablin, then Rurik the third. I'm too lazy to rearrange all this shit to, like, oh, this is this is supposed to be high D, this is low D. I'm too fucking lazy to do all that. So I just put them in whatever order I fucking get to them. So this means nothing. The positioning means nothing. I played a little bit with him when I was doing the Magadan campaign, and I think I'm trying to think of all the fascist leaders in Russia. Out of all the ones I can think of, it's probably the best. Of course, that's not saying much, but he sends people to camps, but they're only labor camps, and they're only political dissidents. So that's not nice, but it could be far, far worse than plenty of these other options. I think they're just better options for Magadan overall. And he's probably not... They're probably not the best in that regard. He does do an okay job in strengthening Russia. He's a high D. I can make a case for low C. I debated back and forth whether I would move him up to that tier, but nah, I'm not going to do that. I'd feel weird if I don't know. This feels about right. We got my man Mr. Petlin here. Now I gotta figure out who exactly are my S tiers. Who exactly are my S tiers? Because I have a few ideas. Oh, my thing just flickered out a little bit. Petlin, I liked his path a lot. I got requested a couple times. I think it was Igor who kept commenting in it, and I finally did, because I was actually kind of interested in the path anyway. I believe I was the first YouTuber to play Petlin for a Let's Play. And, other than having to deal with the potential issue of a collaborator legacy, which isn't as pronounced because he distances it as far away as he can, I think his Russia is pretty damn good overall. I mean, you have communists who are able to free... I remember the event where he gets nervous when he sees a communist, and they go and eagerly shake his hand and thank him for restoring a system where they can participate, and he thinks, man, this is all pretty good. I think Petlin might be my first S tier. I think Petlin's an S tier pick. Now we got my dear friend Dry's favorite obsession, which Shafarvik. I think Shaffy's a D tier. My main thing is the anti-Semitism and the racism. That's a little not cool. But his economic tree, I've come to realize, not really the best. The whole, I think it's the rural idea. You have people have a rural life, get working on farms, and there's a certain appeal to that. I get that. But when you're trying to take all that land back from Germany and beat them after, you know, they did all that to you and your people. You need factories. You don't need farms. And so Shvarvik's focus on that isn't really going to be good for Russia in the upcoming years. It's not going to have them be in a position to be ready. Plus, they might not have the best relationship with the OFN because they're a fascist. It's basically a fascist dictatorship who rigs the elections in his favor. And I guess America's worked with worst in our timeline, but I don't know how eager they'd be to do that. I guess we could ask for co-prosperity spear. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So moving on, we have Sarov. I had him in F tier before, and I've actually I'll move him up to D tier for this reason. If you're ethnic Russian, life's pretty good for you. If you're not, then life kind of sucks. But if you're actually Russian, you're gonna have some pretty good benefits. You can actually get poverty down to a pretty low rate. It's just the worries about who's still not in poverty. Sarov is a bit of a nutter. For a weird expression of Koreans, right? I think they're removing that, it's a bit of a shame because I think it's a funny event, but you have all the weird racial shit involved, but I don't think he goes outright genocidal, at least, which is good, at least, so that works. Moving on, we have the funny Among Us joke, ha ha he he. He seems boring, middle-of-the-road communist. Don't really know much of him because I don't think anyone's actually played Suslov. Probably, yeah, it's because, yeah. Probably not the best, probably not the worst of the communist options. We'll go with it. Moving on, we have Comrade Kardashev, who I finished up my Russia, my Space Commie Comey campaign with. As my successor. Now, the one thing I have concern is that the compromise event that they talk about where they get Kardashev involved includes selecting the energy minister, whoever's going to select the energy. And the guy who put in charge of the energy commission is the exact same guy who caused the Chernobyl disaster. So that made me a little bit worried when I saw that and I recognized who it was. That said, that's making me put him much higher, but I think Kardashev has some fun potential. It's fucking wacky and unrealistic, all the weird space communism, intergalactic civilizations, but it's fucking fun. Space travel's always helped nations develop technologically, and that technological edge is probably going to help them a bit when it comes to the war, so that'll work. I know, but it was a guy who presided, and I think he was in charge of putting up the reactors that imploded or something. Yeah, he's definitely the less of a to bankrupt Russia. Which we'll get to that guy when we get to that guy. Moving on, we have the gamer. I mean, for fuck's sakes, I mostly made this tier as a reference to how badly he fucking ruins Russia. He is a bipolar schizophrenic who believes that the Tsar Alexei, who was shot in a basement in 1920, is still alive. Institutes horrible pogroms, even though he himself is half Jewish. Kills people for dropping their tools. Kills anyone who commits a crime. It's rough. It's not nice at all. So yeah, F tier. Moving on, we have Chilamai, I think his name is. I think it's Chilamai. The other guy who can take over after Zhdanov dies. And he's a D tier for one reason. Him and Kardashev have kind of similar visions. I have some equally big issues with how Kardashev's system would actually work compared with, along with Chilamai. But Kardashev at least has some economic savviness to him. He realizes you can't invest all your money in these wacky-ass projects. Chilamai has continued to keep steering the ship into the iceberg. And if he keeps doing that, Russia is not going to have an economy. It's going to implode itself. And you're just going to have a bunch of people running around with wacky laser guns in a New World Order period or something. Or probably more realistically, just Greece. TV tropes days. Oh, yeah. Germany's eastern flank is secured under Tabby. I forgot to mention that. And for fuck's sakes, Russians flee into Nazi-occupied territory because it's better than Tabaritsky's Komi. And that has to tell you all you have to hear about Komi. Chilamai, he's just going to bankrupt the damn country. It's not going to be good. But it won't be as bad a ride to get to that point, at least. So, D tier. Katushev, I think that's his last name. The successor to the man, the myth, the legend, Alexei Kosygin. Kosygin is undeniably, I think Kosygin is probably my favorite warlord to reunify Russia, just in the blessed level. There's a solid economic policy, decent factories, factory potential. Overall, just a pretty solid government. And then Kardashev kind of takes the reins and kind of directs the country in a similar direction. I wish we would have had Kosygin in for one more election, just so I could have him instead of this fucking dude. But Kosygin is fucking based, undeniably. Yakovlev is on the list in 2 places, actually. Great relations with the OFN, a great economic base, pretty good conditions for the people of Russia, which help, don't go far enough to stifle economic growth, but do pretty well to help everyone get out of poverty. I like it. Moving on, we have Prokrishkin. Where did I put him? Did I put him like C tier? Yeah, I put him C tier. I think I'll go ahead and put Prokrishkin. I think I put him C tier. He's not the worst. It's just he's not going to do enough to stifle those mega corporations and their intrusions into Russia. And so that's kind of going to have issues with what ends up happening. Yeah, he's TNO's Putin. That's a pretty good way to put it. He is TNO's Putin. Yakovlev. Yeah. Yakovlev is present for his Komi path and the front path. But yeah, an okay military, okay economic base. He'll take back Russia fine. But I worry about the Russia that will come after. A little bit. So, that's C tier. Now, Shukshin. Along with having probably one of my favorite unification songs, he's honestly pretty fucking great. I think I put him in A tier last time, but I've really warmed up to him a fair bit. S tier. Has the best Air Force. I'm about to go to bed. Can we do Rebel? I'll finish up with Shukshin first then. Does a good job to begin stifling the damage done by the mega corporations. Helps restore the environment. I guess we don't fully know how things will turn out, but there is a sense of hope for Russia that democracy will prevail, rights of the people will prevail. Plus, that fucking reunification song is fucking lit. My god. That shit's dope. So, Esther. Now, you want Rebel? Okay, I'll give you fucking Rebel. True, true. That's a fair point, ALD. They can both buy their way into unity. True. Rebel. I've warmed up a bit on Rebel, because I did realize he does have a the Roman guy who took over all the power, finished the war, and then became a farmer after. Cincinnatus? I forget how you pronounce it exactly. I'd probably say... I put him in D tier last time. I'd say he's probably a C or a B. Thing is, you have to take him as what he can be. Because, you know, you have two different paths. You just have the one where he has this weird pseudo-junta, where he basically turns Russia into a mercenary state. Now, that's pretty fucking funny, don't get me wrong. But for long-term stability, I don't think it'll work. Now, if he does the path where, you know, helps rebuild Russia, and then he'll prepare to give it to a local administrator, that could be pretty good. Return to democracy, all that. But it's a question of, can he successfully do that, and how long is it going to take to get to that point? Exactly, he does that Outer Haven in Metal Gear, which is fun. I think that's funny as hell, and I like that. But other than that, fuck, yeah. Yazov. Yeah, basically Big Boss. Yazov. You know, I get it. But the Germans kind of fucking suck in this timeline. I do it. No, I get it. I get it. I think a thermonuclear... forcing the world into thermonuclear war to get ultimate revenge and wipe everyone off the earth for letting Russia die might be a little far. You know, when you're fighting monsters, make sure you do not turn into one. If you stare too long at the abyss will stare back. That's Yazov in a nutshell, basically. That is pretty much it. Yeah. Oktan. Mr. Moneybags. I mean, he basically turns Russia into his own little puppet state, takes the money, and is probably going to prepare to run. He might wait to beat the Germans, or he might just leave them up in the middle and then let them figure out themselves. It's not very nice. Not a very nice path for Russia to end up going to. Now, Bunyachenko, I've actually warmed up to since I've done my I've done a series with him since I did the tier list. Is he the best? Probably not, but I think he's C tier. I gotta keep that order consistent so I don't annoy people with it. He's basically South Korea before it became the democracy. Sort of military dictator, not the worst treatment of the people, not the best. Has a bunch of mega corporations helping the economy. It's okay. I see potential for it to turn to something better someday, like South Korea did. So, it could always be wars. Next we have... I think it's the Despot guy for the SBA. Where did I put him? Where did I put them? I think I put them in D. Yeah, D. I haven't played the SBA. I'm probably going to wait till 2 Box Theory. For this guy? Yes, but Yagoda and Bunyachenko are different because Bunyachenko doesn't have this weird cult of personality and a massive security state that suppresses anyone with who doesn't like him. I think that's a pretty fair distinction between him and Yagoda. This guy. From what I understand, yeah. I mean, I don't know how viable the Siberian Free Army would actually be. But it's written in a pretty idealistic way that you're expected to at least go and say, okay, yeah, that works. The idealism is kind of taken out a little bit with this guy. A little bit. And so that it's a little sad in that sense. Also, I don't know which guy is supposed to be. Oh, this guy's oof tier. He doesn't have content. I just realized that. I think I'm just seeing a few missing pictures or people who I just don't recognize. So I'll give some ratings at the end if you guys see that I'm missing anyone. He becomes a statist. Yeah, exactly. Which I think is more realistic and probably would work better, but the way it's written, it's kind of bleak. The thing he hates the most, exactly. Now we have Yeltsin. I'd say A tier. Know a lot of people there's a lot to be said about his economic policies and how he got Russia in real life and in our timeline, but the way that TNO writes him and presents him, it goes over way better. So I understand a lot of people are like, why are you putting Yeltsin so high? What are you talking about? He's not that bad in TNO. Whether there'll be something in TNO 2 that adds on and shows, okay, maybe he is a little bit worse than we fully realized. We'll wait and see for that. But, shock therapy actually kind of works from what I can tell in here. So, plus he takes... he ensures rights for the people. Not that Batov probably won't give rights to the people, but he makes sure that they have freedom and democracy right off the bat. So, that's nice. That said, Batov warmed up to him a little bit too. I've realized he's also probably A tier. Out of all of the military dictatorships, his is actually pretty solid. It's pretty, what was it? Benevolent. That's the word. It restricts some freedoms, but I think if democracy, when they actually beat Russia, they might actually return democracy, which I think would actually be good. He also has probably one of the best armies and can lead Russia in the best direction to take the Reichskommands back. I guess you about it. The PRC guy. Fucking forget his name. No one's played the PRC. I'm sorry to all the devs who actually worked on it, but it's okay. I don't know. Okay, so now we're getting into the Tomsk guys. And I've actually soured a lot on Tomsk recently. I used to have, I think it's Sokolov, the scientist. I used to have him in S tier, but I'm actually moving him all the way down to B tier. Yeltsin offers America oil. Skov offers Russia actual finished goods. Ooh, right, yeah. I see what you mean there. Yeah, that is not bad. I think Tomsk, I've realized, it has a very flawed system. I think I've always realized that, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that it won't work on a full-blown scale. And so you got to look at who will work the system best. And I think Sokolov makes it even more elitist than it already is. You have to have an education. You have to have a college degree to get a vote. Now, granted, makes getting a college education very easy, but still. I think it's glitched right now to give a 14-hour workday. I think it's supposed to be a 12-hour, but even that, a 12-hour workday is pretty rough. The modernizing is pretty fun. I guess that's a nice aspect. The super cities, Uber modernization would be pretty nice, but he doesn't fix the big issues of Tomsk's system. Granted, Tomsk's system is something I prefer over most others, but still. Karns. He kind of falls into a similar issue where he doesn't fully fix the issues of Tomsk. I really enjoy how he explains. He just says he flat out doesn't care about the people. Which, you hear that, like, what? And then he explains, like, oh, fair enough. They're not going to pretend like all the other parties do. He focused mainly on industrializing Russia and making them ready for the war. So I think, at least in that regard, he might be a bit better off definitively. So A or B. I think I'll keep him in B like I had him last year. I know a lot of people. They made pretty good cases for putting him a bit higher, and I probably agree with that. But everything else, I don't know. I forget this name, the condom guy for Tomsk, which is actually kind of funny because I think he's actually a pretty good, in fact, an excellent choice for Russia. He actually makes Comey's system work. Yeah, his big super regional thing is integrating the people of Russia, preserving its beauty, preserving everything along that regards, and making sure that the system of Comey, Tomsk's democracy works for the people and can actually stand up against any pressures. And I think with that, and it's going to be pretty, I think it's going to go without a doubt that they'll be able to get American aid. I think it balances out any military issues they might end up having. And then we have the humanist guy. I forget his name. But he's pretty solid. A tier. He doesn't fix the issues of Comey quite, but he does a good enough job with aiding the people of Tomsk, where it kind of ends up being balanced out, I guess. Now, economically, how well would it work? That's up for debate, as always, but it seems to work well enough. And, it works okay. It's pretty nice, generally. So, yeah. Moving on to, Super Mario Communist. I think he's another one that I put in F tier, and looking back, I think, does he really deserve F tier? I don't think so. Now, he's a Stalinist, brutal, all that, but really how bad he is, yeah, D tier. Exactly. Khrushchev, C tier, same as I put him in last time. Probably a bit better in the freedom regard. Economic, I'm not quite sure how much better he'd be, but people of Russia will be freer. Maybe not free, but freer. Yeah. Let's see. Posted a couple interesting things about the PRC. Yeah, those are all fair points. I don't know how much it changes it from C tier, but yeah. Okay, let's see, where do I put all the Vyatka paths? I think I'll put Vyatka in. I'll keep Off-Dem Vyatka as D tier. Is it bad necessarily? No, but it's gonna have the same issues that the Romanovs had, leading up to the, October Revolution and all that. From what I can tell, at least. It doesn't fix enough of the issues that I think it'll work out well. It integrates Asians from the get-go. Yeah, all fair points about the PRC. I might actually have to play him one of these days, just to give him a little bit of a shake. Condemn Vyatka. Probably a B tier. I think I had him C tier before, but I think someone said it probably wasn't too fair to keep him that low. Actually, I think I will keep him C tier. Better. It's a more viable system, but you still have things like Russification, kind of going on at least, which not the best for the minorities. Not the worst, but not the best either. Now, Lib Dem Vyatka, I think, is A tier, bordering S tier. The only reason I don't put in S tier is because there's that direct connection to working with the Nazis that, well, people like Petlin can kind of, you can do a lot to rework that with the party and how, parties always evolve in democracy. So you can do a lot of things to distance yourself from that, from a party sense, and it'll work out well. It's harder to do that with a sole person in an institution. Granted, his family's held at gunpoint. He basically has to work with the Germans. So you can't fault him too much for that legacy. And a Lib Dem Vyatka is great. You have democracy, you have minority rights, you have... don't quite have women's rights yet, but it seems like it'll get there sooner rather than later. It's also very good against poverty. So it's not bad. Not bad by any means. But yeah. Yakovlev in, I think I'll put Yakovlev Comey in A tier. Both in S tier. I'll agree with the front one in S tier. Because the front has... Well, let's see, if I put one in, how do you distinguish both? No, you got a point, actually. If I'm putting one in, I might as well put both in. I would say that the front one is actually probably going to be better in reunifying Russia militarily from the Comey one. Because there's going to be a better army. Granted, there's going to be there might be a couple more issues with getting democracy restored, but it's not bad. Tukhachevsky, D. Same idea of the He Who Fights Monsters one with Omsk. Tukhachevsky's basically a red Omsk. It's just he's not dead set on causing thermonuclear annihilation. So I'll take it. This is the off-Soch guy in the front. Yeah, exactly. He's a more seeing Azov. Akromiev is probably C tier. Status quo might not be the best, but there's still potential for things to change. Also, I should say, I don't see Resolve. If he actually is somewhere in this list, I apologize. I couldn't find this. I couldn't figure out who the fuck this guy is. It doesn't match up with the portrait I pulled up on TV Tropes. So I will just say this. Just imagine me putting Resolve in A tier, B tier. Resolve, I guess probably B tier. Probably the best when it comes to A tier. Shit, I don't know. I worry because you might have a more standoffish relationship with the OFN, which I don't know if Russia would need that necessarily. And, I mean, the Japanese are not going to help with that. So, yeah, since he's going to have a more standoffish relationship with the OFN, and that'll make things a bit more difficult to reunify Russia. Granted, it's a front, so they'll have an okay time anyway. But as much help as you can get is always a good rule of thumb. So, I'll put him in B tier just for that. Svetlana Salina. Very idealistic young lass. Probably the best for minority rights, gender, sexual orientation, racial. Not religious. If you're religious, you're kind of fucked, but everything else is kind of good. Where did I put her in? I think I put her in A tier. Yeah, that's more or less fair, I think. Yeah, A tier. A despotist Stalina. Despot Stalina. Maybe B tier. I think B tier would work. Oh, that's a little off, but... This is how democracy dies, with glorious applause. See maybe a case to be made for... Actually, I'll put her in C tier, just in case. I mean, the Comey democracy is... For all its flaws, if you get Stalina elected normally, or if you get her elected, or if you get one of the other centrist guys, the Democratic guys elected, it'll work out and it'll figure itself out. Now, if Stalina gets in as a despot, it's a slow knocking of a death nail in on democracy there. I mean, she's modeled off Indira Gandhi, and with my understanding, Indira Gandhi was slowly starting to dismantle the Indian system of democracy. The only reason she didn't succeed was because she was assassinated by some Sikhs. I could be completely wrong, so if there are any Indians who want to correct me, please do. And I'm sure it's a lot more complex than that, and I'm sure she did a lot more, which might make her a bit better, and a lot more that might make her a bit worse. You know, it's like fucking politics everywhere. Everyone's decisive. Everyone has a different opinion on anyone. So, if we're going off of that assumption now, if she's modeled, though, that's not the best. So, I'll go C. Mikhail, I'll probably put him in A tier. Constitutional democracy, probably one of the best story arcs. Man, he literally didn't ask for this. He's Adam Jensen. He's kidnapped. He's screwed. After emergency rules, that was a good idea to hold elections. She lost. Oh, okay. Oh, Indira or Stalina? Who do you mean? Not quite sure. But I like Mikhail. Nice fella. Okay, yeah, Indira. I thought you were talking about Indira. Nice fella. I think Cheetah's a little bit screwed just because they're in the Far East. I think they're especially bad off poverty-wise, I want to say, for whatever reason. Or military professionalism-wise, I think it is. So that doesn't help too much. But ideally, I think they'll be okay. Opposition government lasted for like 1 month. Okay, yeah. I get what you're talking. Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that, yeah. Okay, Zikov, probably a B tier. It's a flawed system, admittedly. It's going to be a very flawed democracy. It's definitely the more authoritarian in authoritarian democracy. Well, Petlin, by proxy, puts the democracy into authoritarian democracy. But it's, all things considered, not that bad. I think Samara's story arc is a question of if no matter how much bad things have you done, if that you've done, can you get redemption? And Ryzhkov is yes, asterisk. And then Bunyachenko is yeah. That's his answer to that. And then he got this guy's like, no. Once a traitor, always a traitor. So it's not a perfect system that he sets up, but it's okay. I think all things considered. Nazi simp. He puts his fellow Russians into slavery. He tries to Germanize the Russian language. He says this dumb shit about Russians having an Aryan spirit. And he wants to work with the fucking Nazis and get an alliance with them. It's not gonna work. He's fucking insane. No. Right, yeah. Bangladesh wars happened. She got popularity. And then she died. Yeah. Sounds about right for my knowledge of Indira Gandhi. I always forget this guy's name. And I forget exactly. I know he believes all this shit in real life. Velimir. That's his fucking name. I forget his real life name, but this dude is fucking insane. He has the same issue as him. Well, I gotta say, he's at least unique. Saying that going back to Slavic paganism, that's a unique one. Saying that Christianity was a Jewish plot to subdue the Russian people. It's interesting, at least. Probably wrong, and he's gonna lead the country into a fucking dumpster fire. But you know, it's at least interesting to hear. He also wants to invade and take over Palestine, not just Germany and all that. Palestine. He wants to take that fucking over. So he's gonna lead the world into a bunch of fucking wars. Probably lead to it being fucking destroyed. So yeah, trying to see if any guys have been left. We're aggregating Sablin into one, and we're averaging him out to what he should be, or like what he would be on average. I'm trying to remember if I forget anyone. But yeah, I think overall this is a tier list. I'd go over all of them, but and it'll take a while, and this video I'm sure is getting pretty long anyway. So I'll go ahead and cut it there. But like with the last one, if you have any comments, concerns, suggestions on what to adjust. I know we also missed one portrait at least, because whoever I either mistakenly put him in here, or the guy who made this tier list didn't put him in. Which is if any of that's happens, ask me that. I'll pin your comment and I'll post a reply, or I'll do something where I'll pin a comment saying where I put them in the tier list. But yeah, this is the tier list. If you have any constructive criticism, ideas, agreements, disagreements, please tell me. I'm more than open to hear that. Depending on how much Russia ends up changing in the future, I might do a version 3.0 of this. We'll wait and see. But until then, my friends, thank you as always for watching. I think I might delist the original tier list, but I'll probably put that in the link below if you want to compare and contrast it. No, Offsoch Sablin is here. It's Libsoch Sablin that I didn't put in. And that was the aggregate of both what Offsoch would probably be, which has he written as an S, and then Libsoch would probably be here, just because how he's written. Offsoch would probably be there. So I'm just putting one Sablin there. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So, yeah. If you have any questions, clarifications, just like that one, comment section. I have a Discord if you want to join with that. We can chat and figure something out. And that's really about it, my friends. True, ALV, true. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.